and welcome to season 2 of the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast project. This season is called the ABCs and HCCs of Early Childhood Education. We are using the letters HCC in the title of every episode this semester to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Holyoke Community College. Today's HCCs are honoring children and childcare professionals.
So as you know, I always have my practicum students come on as guest hosts. So today I have two students. We have Ashley Alderman and Kayla LaFortune. They worked really hard to design this conversation because in class, in our online discussions, we've been talking about advocacy efforts and the power of the collective voice. So as I talked to Liz about this and the Zoomcast, it was really clear who we wanted to bring to the Itsy Bitsy Zoomcast conversation. All about honoring children and childcare professionals and this collective voice and the advocacy efforts that are happening. I want to connect the students with this work. So our two guests today are here. So first I'm going to introduce Donna Danette. Donna is a returning guest. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, Donna?
Well, thank you so much for having me back. I'm Donna Danette. I'm the executive director at the Children First Center in Granby, Massachusetts. And we have toddlers, preschoolers, and school agers. And we also have a private nature-based kindergarten. And I am lucky enough to have Ashley Alderman, one of your interviewers today, as one of my staff members.
Yes. And our other guest today is Amy O'Leary. Amy, I'm so glad you could join us today. You're on the other side of the Zoom casting today. So Amy, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure. It's so great to be here and to be with Donna. I'm Amy O'Leary, and I'm the Early Education for All campaign director at Strategies for Children. We are based in Boston and work statewide to make sure that Massachusetts invests the resources needed for children birth through 5. We're an advocacy policy nonprofit. I started as a preschool teacher in Boston in the 90s and then has been at Strategies since 2002. And I'm also currently serving as the immediate past president of the NAAYC Governing Board. So my term ends in May, and it's been an incredible honor to be part of that organization. And I also teach in higher ed, so it's so great to have students here. I teach at BU Wheelock, Quinsigamond Community College in Worcester, and at Cambridge College in Cambridge.
We are so glad you're here.
I feel like she's missing a key piece of what she does as well.
I'm also the morning host of the 9:30 calls.
Yes, you are.
Your emails are like a beautiful Christmas present every day. I am so grateful for those emails. But today, the great thing about the Zoomcast is these students have heard my voice for a couple of years. So they have some questions for our new voices. So to get us started, Kayla has the first question.
So hi, Amy. Hi, Donna. So my question is a two-part question. So for starters, can you tell us your story of how early childhood advocacy became a part of your role? As well as for those who are new to the field, how can they join existing efforts to promote awareness of how important this work is and what the needs are?
Amy, can you start us off with your thoughts?
Sure. So as I started as a preschool teacher, I became a director, as many teachers do, early on in my career. And I thought, how hard could that job be? I quickly found out how hard that job is. And I would say that's really where my interest in advocacy started, as I now was in charge of enrollment, figuring out the finances. And my aha moment was when we had a child who was funded by a funding stream for 3- and 4-year-olds. He missed the cutoff for kindergarten by 1 day. He was raised by his grandparents who had both retired, and he needed a funding stream to stay in our program. And when I called the state for some help, I got a lot of like, what's the service need? It was very one-dimensional about kind of how we can meet the needs of the children. So I became very interested in advocacy and policy, even though I probably didn't know the words back then about what I was interested in. And at the time, Boston had a lot of infrastructure to support both young directors like me, but also seasoned directors who wanted to have a bigger influence outside the classroom. I firmly believe that you don't need to leave a classroom or a program to be a good advocate. I was lucky enough to meet Margaret Blood, the founder of Strategies for Children, when I graduated from college. I had an informational interview with her, and then 10 years later, she hired me. So you never know who you're talking to and what could the future hold. But for me, it really has been part of my history of knowing how undervalued and under-resourced and not respected early education and care providers have been, and really wanting to change that. So I feel like I do everything now that I used to do during nap time when I was a director, because it's my passion is really supporting the workforce and having them get involved in policy advocacy and research and understanding how transferable the skills are. If you can lead circle time and facilitate nap time, you can do anything.
Fair.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Wow. Donna, how about you?
Well, in my youth, I was definitely an activist. I was very involved in peace and justice issues. I was protesting. I went to South America. I even participated in a planned civil disobedience with the express goal of being arrested and put into jail. So most people don't know that about me, but that was my heavy duty activism period. And afterward, I began to think more about focusing my efforts locally and having that more direct impact. So I got involved in early childhood, and for 2 decades, just put my head down and really worked to build the nonprofit that I had co-created, and was pretty insular other than participating in a wonderful directors group for about the past 7 years. And then the pandemic hit, and I was really unhappy about how things were going very early on, and reached out to my directors group with my frustrations. They were frustrated too. We penned a letter to the governor, got 400 signatures, and got not even a real official like answer or anything. It just felt like we were hitting up against a wall. And then we did some research and found out that Mayor LaChapelle of East Hampton was on the governor's advisory board, and some of our directors were constituents, and some had a direct connection with her. And we were able to then set up meetings with her, and she was literally advising the governor. I hope somebody gets that. There's nobody else in the office today. So that was, such a powerful example of how we could make our voices heard. And I started to see that the field needed to do a lot more to educate the decision makers, the policy makers, the lawmakers, the funders. Folks don't understand like what it is we do, how we do it, what we need, and why it's so critically important. So that led to me joining the 930 calls. And Amy can attest, I'm pretty religious. I don't know that I've missed one since I got involved with the 930 calls. And then I wanted to just go even further. And I could see that when I listened to Amy not long ago, she talked about how supportive the Boston area was of directors. And way out here, out in the West, in the 413, we don't have the kind of alliances that I see exist in the Boston area. And I realized that I needed to be part of building one. And so I testified in front of the Hampshire Franklin County Commission on the Status for Women and Girls, longest title ever, at their legislative panel, and asked Representative Dom if I could have a follow-up. And yesterday I spent an hour with Representatives Dom and Carey, and left with set up for 4 weeks from now to follow up, and a suggestion to plan a legislative briefing and to get involved in speaking at public hearings, I think is what they said. So who knows where it's going to lead, but it's really important to me that the 413 get involved, educate, create alliances, and be able to advocate for our unique needs at this end of the state. And so, in the answer to the second part of your question, Kayla, I would say that it can be really overwhelming with as many things as are out there. And so choose one thing and just get really involved in that. And it might lead you to other things, but something like the Common Start Coalition would give you a little bit of everything and give you something that's already very well formed that you can decide if you want to get behind. And then if that leads you further, all the better.
I would just add to that about asking for mentors, asking for help, asking people to teach you things, because that's how I learned. I learned a lot on the job. I had to learn the whole legislative process. I had to learn the budget process. So we can learn these things. Sometimes we think it's just certain people that have the information. We have to practice. So we have to have opportunities to tell our story and speak up. And we have to be able to prepare. One of the best pieces of feedback I ever got was, we know you can wing it, but you got to be able to prepare, because we are so passionate about the work. But thinking about these intersections and being ambassadors for the work that we do every day. As Donna said, the way that we have to explain and break things down and really just raise up the issues and be honest. And so I think really ask for mentors, ask people to help you, and don't be afraid of that. Most people don't really understand all of the intricacies of government. And sometimes we can feel like, well, somebody else should do that. But we have learned, and Donna can attest, that we are the ones that we are waiting for, and that we have to be the ones providing solutions.
Amy talks about Advocacy 101 a lot. So just starting at the very basics and working your way up, and depending on the people around you who are eager to support you and to grow advocates.
If I could just add a piece too, I think it's really important that people, that we all realize that we have a right to take up that much space, and that you should. And if you ever think I'm just fill in the blank, get rid of that sentence, because you have a right to be there. And so when Amy invites you to consider the idea of asking for help or seeking a mentor, you do that. You have a right to, you deserve it, and we need more people to feel like they can do that. That's a possibility.
That's something Liz and I actually talked about this morning in our regular check-in, is being okay with taking up space. And as I heard both of you talking, a few things stood out to me. One is this idea of transferable skills, right? And so I love what you said. If you can lead circle time and run nap time, you can do anything. And gosh, that's true. I went from being a full-time preschool teacher to a college professor overnight. But those skills are transferable. Engaging people, it's the same for little people as it is for big people. And then this idea of you never know who you get to talk to. You never know who you get to talk to. And we're all learning about policy. I mean, I started the UMass Boston Leadership Fellowship for policy practice and leadership because I needed to learn more about how that end of the world works. I've been in my little early childhood silo on campus, so I'm trying to reach out. And so there's always more to learn. And I'm just thrilled that we have students here that are ready to ask these questions at this stage of their career. And that really leads us right to Ashley's question. Ashley, do you want to go ahead and ask that?
Of course. I am in the unique position where I see Donna in action on a regular basis. And I'm both inspired and motivated by Donna. And even through some of her toughest times, she never gives up. And that leads me into my question of, how do you persevere when advocating for our field when you find yourself in dark times or in an uphill battle, and what inspires you?
Well, I thrive in challenges, so that helps. I have a pretty demonstrated history of tell me I can't and I will prove you wrong. That's definitely a big piece of I think it's because I was the first girl after 5 older brothers. And so I think I was born into that you got to prove yourself mentality. But more in depth than that, I would say, and I don't mind getting emotional because Amy shares that quality with me. It's amazing how deeply we impact children and families. So when I'm feeling like it's just really tough, I have my little mental catalog and I have my cards and things all around me, my gifts from families and children, my reminders. I've got Rosie the Riveter over there on my wall. We can do it. And I think about the families when they reach out to me at sometimes their most vulnerable moments. One of the first things I say to a family who calls and their voice is shaking and they finally tell me what's going on, and I'll say to them, you know, it's okay. I'm often the first person to hear about divorce, cancer, death, whatever it is going on in the family unit. The family unit is so young and so new, and we have such an incredible role to play for them. It's a sacred trust. And so I can't let them down. I have to be there no matter what. And I've built Children First on this idea that we're family. And when children age out of Children First and have to leave, I say to them, remember, once we're CF family, we're always CF family. And I will be here for you forever if you ever need me. And that has actually then come back where parents have contacted me when their children are in middle school, high school. People have come back to me in college. They come back with their own babies because I've been in it long enough now that I'm beginning to take children of children that I cared for many years ago. So it's a sacred trust, and that's what motivates me when things get really hard.
How about for you, Amy?
Donna is correct. We share many qualities, including this is emotional work. This is very personal work. Teaching is very personal. So being there for families and making the decision to leave direct service and become an advocate full-time was a tough one, which is why I really value my involvement with higher education, because staying connected to people who are doing the work is really, really important to me. As I started at Strategies, I realized I was the same person, but now I had access to people, to information, and to decision making, and other experiences. And that's what I want to make sure we can connect to people who are doing this work. You know, I had people teach me. I'm always inspired by the field, and I think to Donna's point, if we believe the research about how critical early ed is, to be able to see children and families who I've, had the honor of serving and being part of their family, go on, grow up, and really think about how they're going to change the world has been incredible. I'm also always heartened when I see elected officials or appointed officials get it and really think about what they want to do.
Yeah.
How they're going to impact, sometimes it's a light bulb. Sometimes, there's been a lot of scaffolding of lessons to get to the place of recognition. But I have great hope. Anytime I hear about someone like Donna, who's creating her own thing in the 413 to fill a need, to ask for help, to get coaching, to do it, to take action. It's so easy to just say it's somebody else's job. But remembering why we're doing it. Often when I'm doing any kind of training or work, we think about what's your why, and making sure we're staying in touch with that. The last year for me, and one of the reasons why I started the 930 calls, was because I wanted to change the power dynamic. I wanted people who were doing the work and feeling frustrated like Donna, that we just weren't getting any information while we were showing up every day for children and families. I wanted to make sure there was a place to build community, to get accurate information, and then be ambassadors of that. We could never, through an email or a Facebook post, get to folks. But when people feel valued, and that's part of being valued, that we trust you enough to challenge you, but also trust you with information. And I feel so strongly, my next vision is really, how do we support educators in the classroom who often can't be on a Zoom meeting, or how do we help build their power so that they can feel connected and then think about taking action?
I'm so just loving every word that comes out of your mouth, especially the word trust. That's something that Liz and we kind of call ourselves
these thought partners, right? This term keeps coming back, thought partners, and I keep having different ideas. And this idea of trusting teachers is something that I've been reflecting on really deeply lately, in terms of how we develop curriculum, but also what information we give them. So in my work through UMass Boston and my Future Change project, it's really centering around this idea of trusting teachers. And for me, it comes from that why of the teachers that I'm putting into the field, the teachers that I get the honor of helping to develop, the Kaylas and the Ashleys that, once they're in the HCC family, they're always in my HCC family. Same as Donna, that's that transferable skill. Once you're a teacher, you're always a teacher. And for the two of you, as you go out into the world and you're finding those mentors, you still have this grounding anchor of your time at HCC and the people that are still there that care about you and what you do with your career. And my hope is that through these Zoomcasts, you then connect with the Amy's and the Donnas of the world so that you can be a part of as much or as little of this outreach and building of community and networking as you're ready for. So these answers are just everything I could have hoped for. And I'm so thankful my students got to hear from you both.
I have to add one thing that I forgot that we talked about is when I was part of the Boston support system, we wrote a skit, and the skit's name was The More We Get Together. And we wrote a song called The Itsy Bitsy Paycheck. And the first lines was the itsy bitsy paycheck can only stretch so far. And we used guerrilla theater we performed at the State House. We performed it, wherever we had a whole cast of people. We had very simple costumes. And I think it might be time to revive the skit and be showing it in once we get out and can be out and about. But it really was another way to deliver the message. And it was a little hokey. It may have seemed, but the message was strong and serious, and it was about, and this was back in the 90s. So unfortunately, some of the context is the same, and I believe this is part of the transferable skills, right? We can sing, we can dance, and we can get our point across.
That has to happen. I'm in. Give me a part and I am in. I have no inhibitions. I am happy.
Well, it also shows that all ideas have potential to become something. And so to not discredit your idea. Find somebody, talk about it, see if you can flesh it out. And like I always say, see if it has legs. And then go for it. And you just never know where it'll take you. One of our beautiful ideas Sheila and I had has taken us here with all of you. So that's pretty exciting for us. So I just want to say that in closing, for season 2, we're now closing each episode with action steps that we invite you to take. And so this episode has 3 action steps. The first one is to engage with EEC's strategic planning process by participating in the ongoing surveys on the strategic planning portal. And we'll have links in the show notes for you to see. The strategic action plan is EEC's guiding vision for 2020 to 2025. It was developed with over 11,000 residents of Massachusetts. Their ideas, feedback, concerns, and expertise led directly to each strategy that EEC is undertaking, and it's worthwhile to go and see that's one of the places that you can get involved. On this website, you will see that there is a calendar of events they're called feedback events that you can register for. They're in the month of March, but they're doing them every month, and they're incredibly impactful. Wouldn't you say, Donna?
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They've got this setup where you can use your phone or your computer, and it's immediate feedback from the group. And so it's fast, it's efficient, and you can get your voice heard, but also hear the voices of lots of other people. And it just amplifies whatever your message is. So if you're really feeling like the solution is XYZ, you can just keep saying, yep, some other version of XYZ, and really hammering home that message to EEC that's what the field is looking for. I love them.
Yeah, it's safe to say the surveys that they are asking people to fill out, as well as these feedback events, they're listening and they're taking action quickly after. And that's an important thing for our field to know, that there are these places where you are being heard. So the third action step is to visit Strategies for Children website. I wonder, Amy, if there's something you might want to say for folks when they get to your website. What would you want them to go to first?
Sure, there's a sign up button. So we have a database of about 8,000 folks where we communicate. And we also have our blog, Eye on Early Education, where we are featuring a series of voices from the field. And we want to tell stories of educators. So if you're interested in that, my contact information is on the website. There's also links to better understand the state budget process, to track legislation. There's a Common Start legislation that's been filed, Donna mentioned, around really getting to our vision of universal access. So, and please contact me and stay in touch.
Thank you.
Like one-stop shopping.
It sure is.
Oh, what a perfect episode. I think this really encompasses a lot of what the students have been interested in and had some questions about in their online discussions. And I'm really grateful that the rest of the class and then our Itsy Bitsy viewers will get to see and get this information and have some action steps if they're ready to take that step and start with some involvement. And we always welcome people to email Liz or I if you have questions or you need help making a connection. And this week we can include our email addresses in our show notes so that people can connect with us and we can help you to build your networks in the best way we can. So a really big thank you to Kayla LaFortune and Ashley Alderman for their really diligent work designing this episode. And of course, a special thank you to Amy O'Leary and Donna Danette for taking the time to talk to our students and our viewers about your really, really important work. And like Donna said, it's very easy for me too to get emotional because this is personal work. You know, Amy said it's personal work, it's heartfelt, and we are just so glad that our HCCs were honoring children and childcare professionals. You are the perfect guests for this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.